Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
ECSI fans, do you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all of your sports books and track all of your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You can also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as they're the best account on the platform. Head to the App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire to download the app.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your Breakfast Bankroll with CXO Travis Geiger of WagerWire, co-founder, in his weekly spot on Tuesday mornings in the ECSI studio. I truly wish I was in LA, California, where today on Cape Cod, it's a brisk 42, 43 degrees. But happy Halloween to everyone. Hope everyone enjoyed the sports equinox last night, as we'll get into that in a few seconds. First, some shout outs, of course, to our new partnership with WagerWire. If you have not downloaded the app, please go to Google Play or wherever you download the apps. It's free. Download it. Get accustomed to it. Start syncing your bets into all the sport books that are available. Keep track of your ROI, which that sounds crazy. You mean I actually got to track my wages? Why? I'm just having fun. It's entertainment. Well, we're here to turn sports bets and wagers into assets. We're here to actually try to teach and educate you how to make profit before your asset has matured. But that's for another day. Shout out to the guys behind the glass, Joe Shea, Evan Lewis, Alou, Bennett, and Cade Horton. They do an amazing job. We can't thank you enough. But it's not about me. It's about the star of this show, the one and only Mr. Travis Geiger.
Hey, thank you for having me back, Jeff. Good to be here.
It wouldn't be Tuesday without you here. What do you mean?
I know, this is the regular spot. I kind of like waking up and checking the graphs. I got my own breakfast bankroll routine now. I love it.
Yesterday, the sports equinox, I guess it happens once a year when all four major sports play. We had the World Series go on, where the Rangers now take a 2-1 lead in the World Series. We had an NFL game go on, Lions and the Raiders. We had some NHL and NBA. I mean, for a true sports fan, you better have the remote fully charged.
I can't believe it only happens once a year. I mean, it's truly amazing. Did you place a bet on each one of the leagues?
We dove into some NHL team totals. We dove into a World Series team total. We passed on the NFL, and so far we've been observing the NBA. And we're going to dive into the prop market probably sometime this week. We're trying to, as you like to say, trying to gather some data. How's that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I call my losses, but yeah. I love that. It's all research, right? But you brought up an important point earlier about, people actually lose track of their bets that they place, which is wild to me. You should be able to go back and say, well, directionally, how am I doing on parlays? Do I actually need to put the parlays down? Am I really just looking at this big shiny object, or, what am I actually exceeding at? How did I do on the NBA last year? We can tell you that too if you sync up your books. What WagerWire let you do is really look at all of your bets almost like a forensic accountant and say, where did I go wrong? Where am I making money? And what can I do better in the future?
And in today's modern world of technology, where I always say the iPhone is the Bellagio, where you can place a wager on any sport. Now you can do almost up to first quarters, half times, in-game lives. We talked about it last week and the week before. Sooner, you're going to be sitting at the Diamondbacks game, and Kettle Marte's on deck, and you're going to say, "Hey, I'll take the 8-1 on a homer, or I'll take the 3-1 on a double." And as they almost do in golf right now, Travis, where they allow you to play hold the hole. Will Tiger Woods hit the green? Will Tiger Woods get a birdie?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's the future, and you called it from a mile away for sure.
It's we talked for about 20 minutes backstage. Apologies for not starting at 10:30. That's all on me, to all your followers here in your community. We should have, for poops and giggles, pulled up an LA Clippers before last night, and then after last night with the trade of James Harden and their new big four.
Yeah, it's amazing how trades can affect the lines. I mean, we can also pull up just the way that the Packers and the Jets at the time of the Rodgers trade, their fortunes actually directly flipped. The Jets, boom, and the Packers went boom, and now they basically met back up, kind of down at the lower third of the chart. But I actually think the Jets are in buy territory right now. $100 bet, you can scoop it right now for $39. That $100 preseason bet, that was a bet that went up to 175 immediately after the trade. It's down to 39. But I think that what I'm hearing, the rumors, and they look pretty good actually. It could be a time to buy a Jets Super Bowl future. Now I'm saying in the wager wire world, it's time to buy a Jets Super Bowl future, because in the wager wire world, it doesn't have to win, right? They just have to make a nice run for the playoffs, and you're back in the money.
We've been talking about that. We've been talking, and that's a perfect point, Travis. Is the fact of the matter is why in holy hell would I buy a Jets Super Bowl ticket? And at the end of the day, there's only one team that's going to hold the Lombardi Trophy as the Super Bowl champs. But you could have 4, 5, 6, 8 teams in your portfolio, and whether it's after week 10, week 12, week 17, you could sell those and still gain some profit. As we said earlier, turning bets and wagers into profit before they mature.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right, Jeff. And I got some cool charts too. Whenever we want to get into it, for sure. I'm actually just going back and looking at the Jets Eagles charts from last year. That's kind of interesting, because there's all this expected value, right? We can even look at the World Series, where your bet on the Rangers or Diamondbacks to win the World Series right now is worth more than the pennant bet actually hitting for each one of those teams, which is kind of interesting. I'm just going to be your chart monkey today, and I think that there's something interesting to the conversation we were having backstage. And you noted my title is CXO, which sounds made up, and actually, if you go to the Wikipedia, it's like maybe like part of the description is it's a made up title. But when you found a company, it's all the alphabet. So I look at something like a chief marketing officer, which is really what I am, CMO. And it feels kind of icky, right? It feels like these sports books are always trying to sell you something. They're building they're building the Bellagio on your losses, on your betting losses, right? We're not doing that. We're trying to create an experience. That's what the X is for. So I'm the chief experience officer. So I'm trying to invite people in rather than be a carnival barker to try to separate them from their cash.
I like that. See, creativity. I really do. And thank you for explaining that. I was, when I was putting it down there and I was kind of curious myself. So now you answered my own question. So big shout out there. Want to shout out to Billy Hewlin, big time ECSI, longtime family member of the VIP crew. Shout out to both of us. He goes, Happy Halloween. Let's cash some tickets today. Well, that's our goal. But for right now, Travis, why don't we start pulling up some graphs
Yeah.
and we'll get them on. We'll get them up here. My infatuation with the kids, the college. We got the Heisman Trophy. We got
Right.
the who's in the Final Four, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So as you said, I'm just going to pull the graph up here, and then I'm going to actually even make it bigger for everyone to see. And there we go.
Okay, cool. So I'm starting with the one we looked at last time I was on, which was actually a week 7 graph. So we can see from what, we were talking about that week between Penix, Gabriel, Williams, McCarthy, Jordan, Travis. If we go 2 weeks in the future, interesting. Caleb Williams is essentially wiped everything out. Remember over here, he was 185. Now, the way that we do these graphs is if you placed $100 bet, and you can choose, at what, date that bet was, placed at the window. We're going to say it's when the lines opened here, May 23rd. If you placed a $100 bet on each of these guys, this is what they were week 7. Penix, 567. Williams again, 185. Williams erases all that down to 6. Jordan Travis, 2 weeks ago, he's $65. He's essentially doubled. Dylan Gabriel, unchanged, which is kind of surprising. And Penix is taking a little bit of a slide. So 2 weeks can do a lot.
And we try to figure out, we look at this week's games, we looked at last week's games, and obviously we look at next week. There's some big matchups still to come. I know Alabama has LSU coming up. The Pac-12, excuse me. I almost said Pac-10. The Pac-12 just beating itself, each other up. USC on a big slide there. Oregon flexed its muscles at Utah. Utah had won 26 in a row at home, hadn't lost since COVID, and yet we're 7-point underdogs. And Oregon and Bo Nix flexed its muscles, said, not so fast, guys. We're going to leave our stamp here. So here you go right there. Jaden Daniels, Alabama, LSU. And I noticed this past weekend, there was a lot of money coming flying in on Jaden Daniels to win the Heisman. And maybe was the wise guy saying, I'm going to take my stock in Jaden Daniels in the Heisman, and then they're going to come back and play Alabama on Saturday at home against LSU. So talk about the Jaden Daniels, the Bo Nix, and UNC's Drake May here.
Yeah, so I think that Bo Nix is perfect buy territory, right? Because he went on a run, then slide back to that $100 valuation that he started at. So it's basically like you get a clean slate if you want to buy in on Bo. Same value now as you had before the season even started, and you got to see him play. So you've de-risked it a lot. So even though you're back at the same odds, basically the same payout, you've gotten to actually experience that play. So now we're retraced back to 100. I think, like you, that's great buy territory. Drake May is totally undervalued. I mean, $100 on him preseason down to 29, but it looks like there's only upside potential. Again, can he do it? Maybe not, but if he gets the nomination, then you're looking pretty clean there. And then, like you said, a ton of money between week 8 and 9 piling in on Jaden Daniels, who, back at week 7 was just kind of trending below average.
And as we progress here with our partnership with WagerWire, we're going to be able to go in, create these, and hopefully, as you said backstage, at some point, actually literally be live market prices, correct?
Yeah, that's what we're working towards right now. So this is built with an internal technology that we're going to make available free to the public, where you can chart your teams like stock graphs. You can even, chart your own personal bet. It doesn't have to be $100 if you put, $25 on it, or if you put $2,500 on it or $3,000 on it. You can set that on the y-axis as your starting point or your buy-in. You can set the date that you bought it at. You can even set your endpoint if you want to, but generally we're interested in knowing what's going on now. But looking at historicals, it's interesting. You can take snapshots of what's it like week 2 to week 6 and compare historical years. You'll be able to scroll over it. There'll be some interactive abilities, and then you'll be able to export them and start to save them in your own charts folder. And this is going to be on our site and in our app. So this is just one of the public services that we're offering, and it allows people to, I think, put a visualization to the kind of sports betting investing that you've been talking about for years.
Let's go over, what do you have next?
So I just got a little top 5 CFB, which is interesting. Michigan and Florida State, are getting a nosebleed. Ohio State never really got that pop of love yet. So if you're bullish on the Buckeyes, I think the odds right now are looking good for them to make that run. I mean, you got to make a gamble. Are they going to beat Michigan? If they beat Michigan, if they lose to Michigan, are they still going to get in? But I mean, look at the gulf between Ohio State and Michigan, and I don't think that is reflective of Michigan being that much more likely than Ohio State to win the championship. So I'm looking at Georgia and Ohio State. Now they were more heavily favorited, so they have, the upside isn't as high as somebody like Washington or Florida State, which started slightly behind them in the pack. But I think Ohio State's a total buy stock for me right now.
And the one that I've talked about for weeks, actually, I can go back 3 or 4 weeks ago. We gave out Alabama at plus 2,000, and now I think they're as low as, I want to say 11-1 in some shops. I did see some 14-1s last week, and Oregon. We talked about Oregon backstage, where the stage is set. If they cheat, most likely play an undefeated or one-loss Washington team and win that. How are they going to keep a one-loss Pac-12 team out of the Final Four? And I'm going to say this to you, Travis. With Georgia and Ohio State sitting where they are, it's almost like you can get in now if you want, but again, Ohio State's still got to win at Michigan, and then obviously they'll be huge favorites to win the Big Ten. And Georgia, the thought process is if Alabama cheats and Georgia loses, there's so many other teams that could be sitting there with one loss, and it's almost like, Travis, it's if you lost the first game of the year and cheated, versus winning all your games and losing the last game without a SEC title, they might not get in this year with a one loss and no SEC title.
That's true. I actually just ran that Oregon and Alabama chart for you while you were talking. So yeah, I mean, look at Alabama not getting love at all, right? Half of what their preseason value was. And Oregon, we're seeing that classic retrace back to where they were preseason. So I think both of those teams have value right now.
How about what is up next? What do we got? World Series?
Okay, so we're going to go World Series.
Heisman.
So this isn't – yeah. Let's do all that fun stuff. So we did Heisman. We did a little bit of CFB. This is before the game played last night. But what's interesting is you can see, this is what you could – before the first pitch was thrown last night, you could have sold out of a Diamondbacks position for $31, almost $3,200, and a Rangers position for $2,800. Now, look at what a bet on the Rangers to win the pennant, which of course they did, would have got $100, won you $2,600. Now on the World Series bet, World Series hasn't even finished. That $100 is worth $2,800. So already, which is interesting, you're more in the money having a World Series bet that hasn't matured than a winning pennant bet. Now the trick is you got to flip it. That's why WagerWire came along too. So, and then if you look at the Diamondbacks, they're not quite up to where they were on the pennant, but you're seeing like very close values from a ticket that actually won to a ticket that hasn't even, won or lost yet. So very interesting.
And then it was funny because, yes, today's game overnight, Texas was minus 115, and this morning now Arizona is favored 109, 110, 110, excuse me, DraftKings 115. Haney versus Mantipley. It's a bullpen game, it looks like, for both. So I'd rather be sitting with these stocks versus trying to flip a coin and figure out who's going to win tonight's game.
Totally. I think it's more fun because you can also think of these futures as single game bets in their own way, especially if it's an elimination game. I'd rather have it for all, for all the marbles and have this bet that, like we said, I mean, we can look right now at an example. Orioles going to zero. Like you said, 31 teams go to zero. You can almost think of, I mean, again, this is with the marketplace. You can almost think of futures bets during the game as live bets or single game bets with bigger swings. They just won't necessarily resolve until the end of the series or the end of the season, but they swing around just like, the live in-game odds. So yeah, Orioles had a really interesting journey up to the top. 6x your bet was the max value, and of course go to zero. We can see a very similar journey, although they got a couple rounds further with the Phillies. The Braves were the darlings, 3x, and the Twins were actually a team that I had money on. We got them before the wild card around here, so they were still up 2x from their but as soon as the manager had twin boys, we figured that this is a sign from God. So we knew it was going to be a tough go, but we failed to capture the max expected value up here when that $100 bet it got to 300 before the crash. And the real heartbreaker is my Reds, which we bought way down here right before Ellie De La Cruz and the whole belief train left the station. We were like, I think it was like 12x our original investment at the height of the madness up here before they didn't follow through after the All-Star break. And of course, now I have a nice memorial coaster, paperweight, or confetti, as you say. And then I can go into the hockey charts. I'm not a huge hockey fan, but I did queue up the games for tonight. There's not much to see here because the season's just started. But we got the Kings and the Maple Leafs, and we got the Canucks and the Predators. And next Tuesday we'll have to check back and just see what is the variant, like how much are these swinging week to week. I think each league has its own kind of interval. Each league has its own kind of week-to-week intervals, how much a line moves day to day with baseball and stuff. So, and then each team has their own kind of volatility. Like you look at a team like the Vikings with Cousins going down, but they're actually a historically volatile team compared to somebody like, believe it or not, the Steelers. They have a very kind of consistent week to week. There's not as much swings as some of the other teams, but you can basically put together a VIX index for different teams and their volatility week to week. So some markets overreact, some markets underreact based on like the public and the books perceptions of these teams. All these ins and outs, but it's just really fun to see them charted. So we'll track these storylines over the course of the year. And again, this is just the Pacific conference in the NHL West, and I just think it's interesting. You can already see the Flames start to slide. The Sharks, they're off to a slow start. So even though it's only been 8 or 9 games, you're already seeing these slides start to form. You're starting to see the rest of the pack start to pull away. I mean, these are 3 pretty elite teams, so it's no surprise that they're kind of bunching together up here. And when we go into the NFL divisionals later, you can kind of see how these packs over time separate and the losers kind of sink and the winners kind of rise. But then every now and then you'll get these kind of flipping events, which we can start to look at here with the Bengals. So before the Bengals and the Niners played, who were both, pretty well thought of when the season was beginning. And then the Bengals, of course, got off to a slow start. Now, after that win, they're kind of inching ever closer. So you can see the Niners are kind of falling off. The Bengals are starting to poke their head up. I wouldn't be surprised if the the Bengals keep performing and the Niners continue to skid a little bit. Not saying that they'd be at all out of it, but you could still see these axes flip just in 1 or 2 weeks from now. The Bengals could be where the Niners are, and the Niners could be where the Bengals are, which is interesting. And we can look at it divisionally too. The Bengals not getting a ton of love. I mean, I still think that they're a threat. Maybe I'm delusional, but just look at the difference between the Browns and the Bengals values. Just as a guy from Cincinnati, I'm slightly insulted.
No, and there's a great point there. I'm going to go back. Let's leave this chart here, but I wanted to go back to your hockey point. Andrew McGinnis, who we have on our channel on Tuesdays from Wager Talk, and then we go on his channel on Thursday. He does a buy low and a sell high every Monday. So your graphs are perfect where, you might have had a team that was hot last week with a tough 2 or 3 games. So it's time to sell them. And then you might have a team coming back home. They were 0-3-1 on the road. Now they're coming back home and they're set up well. So these graphs moving forward are going to be phenomenal for us as we start to dig into the actual graphs and the visualization in all the sports. But this graph here is phenomenal because we know Cincinnati started slow because Joe was hurt. Their schedule wasn't the greatest either. They came off the bye week, and if for anyone to hear that wasn't watching the game on Sunday, go back and just look at the first quarter or the second quarter when Joe pulled the ball down and he ran straight down the middle of the field, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And he didn't slide. He was looking for someone to hit. And it's like, he is fully healthy. This team is engaged. They are going to make that run. So if you're watching this and you got a chance to buy some Bengals stock, buy, as Mortar said. Buy in trading places. The Steelers, Pickett hurt. They're probably reeling out Trubisky on Thursday against Tennessee. I'm going to stay away there. And the Browns right now with the Watson mess, you know what? Their defense is phenomenal, but I think it's almost a circus over there. I'd stay away from the Browns right now. And I think you still can get in on the Ravens. They are the trade deadlines today at 4:00. If they added a Sweat, if they added a Chase Young, they would be real scary in my point. But right now, guys, anyone watching and listening, buy on those Bengals.
Couldn't agree more. And it's interesting too. Yeah, choosing when to place that bet. I mean, taking the marketplace idea out of it, like this is also something to compare your cash out values to if you're being offered one. Like if you wanted to bail on the Steelers right now, $75 is like what we're saying is kind of the max fair value. And then, but they're probably going to be offering you, $25, $30 for that ticket. But it's just nice to know like how much you're getting chopped on the cash out offers. We also have a calculator on our site, the bet value calculator. We can tell you what the value of your bet is at any point in time. All you need is, what you spent on it, what the odds were when you placed it, and the current odds, and we'll tell you what a fair offer is, and then you can put in your cash out offer actually, and we can tell you what the rip off rate is, which the books really hate when we use that term. But we can tell you the rip off rate, meaning like what percentage of the value they're actually offering you. So that's wagerwire.com/calculator from anyone that's down to check that out. And just keep going through the divisions here. Like I said, you start to see. This is a common thing, like the leaders start to pull away and the laggards start to sink. The Texans, man, are totally volatile. I mean, they look like the darlings. Now they're kind of getting exposed. We're not quite sure where they're going to shake out, but they're on a roller coaster. They could be frauds. I don't know. I'd be interested in your opinion.
Yeah, the CJ Stroud just blew me away, especially the start of the year. I just looks so calm, cool, and comfortable. They drafted great. They added Tank Dell, Nico Collins, who I had in diapers. I did not have a lot of Nico Collins shares this year. Great defense, great coach. but it looks like it's the Jags season. A big win on Pittsburgh there. They've currently won 5 in a row. They have the longest winning streak in the NFL right now. So they're kind of the flavor of the past couple weeks there. It's the Jags. I'd say at the end, probably win by 2 or 3 going away.
Cool. The West, there's a clear leader here, but what's interesting is Chiefs, like I said, back where they started. People aren't quite sure if they're the real deal now. Like we said, they were heavily favorited. So when you look at these graphs, that is one interesting element, is what is the potential payout. So yeah, I mean, I kind of don't want to touch this division. I also don't like the Chiefs. So this is another one where you kind of, you're getting that top and bottom effect where the Eagles and the Cowboys, I mean, the clearly contenders, and the Commies and the Giants just not even gonna touch that. But I'd be interested in what you think about the Eagles and the Cowboys.
Perfect segue into, I think it's Sunday night's game at 8:20. Eagles currently -3.5. Dallas coming off the bye, dominant performance against the Rams. I would suggest to anyone watching and listening this show today, why would you bet Dallas +3.5 if you think they're going to win? You should be buying stock in Dallas instead of just buying the single game ticket, because if Dallas wins at Philly, those two numbers will flip. So if you like Dallas this week plus the 3.5, I'm not stopping you there. But if you think they got a good shot to win, you should be buying Dallas stock to win the NFC, to win the NFC East, and potentially to win the Super Bowl.
That's such a good point, because those money lines, I mean, especially you could double your money on a Dallas win against, the Eagles, or buy low on that Super Bowl future, which is going to be between 10 or 20x multiplier. So you can actually capture that value over many weeks rather than have to try to double up over one, as you were saying. NFC North, sorry, the Lions. This doesn't reflect the Monday night game just yet, but clearly looking good. Definitely going to win that division, I think, and could make a run. I actually have we have some Super Bowl futures right now. Lions are one of them. Dolphins are another one that we're feeling good about. The South is kind of underperforming, but it's competitive, and it's underperformance. So we'll see how that shakes out. I kind of like the Saints. We also have a Buccaneers to make the playoffs future that we really like. I think is still in play. I'd be interested in what you think about if the Bucs still got a shot at the playoffs.
They're almost like the Texans. They kind of peaked. Baker looked good. They were playing well. They've kind of faltered of late. You take a look at Atlanta. The coach had seen enough of Ritter. In comes Heineke. Rumor had it last night that the Saints and the Vikings were doing some talks, and maybe Jameis heading over to Minnesota to try to save the season there. It looks like to me, listen, I had on the desk the Panthers to get their first win on Sunday. I think they're going to they're not going to make the playoffs or win this, but I think they're going to win a couple games. I think your Tampa Bay, Atlanta will kind of beat themselves up. And I think when the dust settles, the Saints comfortably will win that division by 1 or 2.
I like that a lot. Cool. And then rounding it out, we got the the NFC West, and we looked at the Niners earlier, and the Seahawks are really popping. I don't know. Do you think that the Seahawks hold off the Niners?
Well, it was funny because we were anointing the 49ers 3 weeks ago, and then they stumble in Cleveland to get their first loss. And then I'm drawing a brain cramp for their second loss. Who did they lose to the second week? They lost back-to-back. Wow. I have a brain cramp. And then, of course, they lost to Cincinnati this past week. Injuries. No, everyone's saying how bad Brock Purdy is.
They lost to the Vikings, right?
Yes, the Vikings. Thank you. on that Monday night. So they lose at the Browns at Minnesota. They come home to a fresh Cincinnati team and they lose there. The big loss on the 49ers is Trent Williams. They're not able to run the ball as effectively. They had no Debo. They are banged up. Purdy starting to show a few chinks in the armor. The 49ers will be fine. Will they win the division? I think they will. I think that the buck stops here, get some rest, and you're going to see them start to ascend again. Where quietly Seattle, it looks like Njigba, who has scored the last 2 weeks, is now getting his sea legs, and he's starting to be a part of that offense there. I think when the dust settles, I think the 49ers win the division by 1. How's that sound?
Oof, I like that. Cool. I mean, that's what I got for you guys today, and we should just keep an eye on these. I mean, I love coming on this show, and I think that we're going to start to find some storylines to watch. We already kind of called some out today between the Heisman race. We're going to keep an eye on the World Series, which I think probably will be done by the next time we get together. But you can follow us on Twitter at WagerWire, and we put these graphs and stuff out all the time.
Well, you know what? And shame on me. This is your platform, your stage on Tuesdays. And you know what? I didn't bring this up, and I'm not letting you out before you talk a little about it. You and Zach are still alive in the Circa Survivor contest.
Yeah.
I am alive. I'm alive in my local one. I know where I'm leaning this week. But you talk a little about the experience, how you guys have gone through the first 8 weeks. And if you, I think there's 2 opportunities this week. Anyone that used the Lions last night, shame on you, because you're going to save one, obviously, for Thanksgiving. But talk about the experience. And if you want to talk about this week, you still got some time to put your play in, but where your eyes are this week as well.
Yeah. So we went with the Chargers this week, which I was feeling good about. I think that this week is the toughest week we got in a long time. I don't really like any of the choices. We haven't had to sweat one out yet, which is great. But I don't know. I want the wisdom of the crowd, Jeff. Who do you got? I mean, I can tell you who our picks were so far, but who you got? We've used Chargers, Seahawks, Rams, Lions, Niners, Dolphins, Bills, Ravens. That's who we've used.
That's my card. That's exactly my card. So
really,
and yes, that's my exact card. And I thought this week the play is Cleveland. I know Arizona has been a little feisty.
Yeah. That's what we're thinking too.
They came out yesterday and basically said Dobbs is not playing. It's either going to be Murray or the rookie. So I don't know if Murray's going to be ready. I've heard some people talking about the Saints as well this week. And I feel more comfortable with Cleveland, that defense coming off a loss, than I would the Saints.
Yeah, I do. I think that kind of the Browns are having a moment where they really believe. I think the Cardinals are a super beatable team. And I think the board is pretty tough. For Circa, we're playing the Cowboys on Thanksgiving because we have to make a Thanksgiving pick. But we got our powder dry with we still have the Eagles, we still have the Chiefs, we still have the Bengals. So $9 million would fund our Series A. So that's the current investment strategy.
We'll be keeping close tabs on you there as well. As always, how I like to close this out, Travis, tell them where they can find you, your work. You talk backstage about coming back with the mayor of Vegas, Mr. Dave Sharapan, Matt Peralta on BVB. But give us the full WagerWire skinny.
Yeah, it's breaking news. And for anybody who's Brigade fan out here, we're getting back involved with Bostonian versus the Book. We think it's an amazing program. We love the Brigade. So you'll be seeing more of us over there. And WagerWire is at the App Store or Google Play at, there's WagerWire, one word. You're going to see more and more tools every day. Right now, you can sync all of your books. You can see all your bets in one place, your balances. You can see your stats. You can see line comparisons. You can see our awesome content, and you can see how your friends are betting. And then we're going to add features like that chart that you saw. We also have the bet value calculator, so you can know the value of your bet. And then as our partners kindly integrate us, we have to win these casino contracts one by one. It's going pretty well. It's going to start with Jake Paul's company. This is a risk taker, and we like that. We also got a bunch of others in the works. We can also talk next time about our station's casino partnership, which people will be able to play on the free-to-play wherever they are. But what we're really working towards is making WagerWire table stakes for the industry, because and I know that it's not cool to be locked into your bet when there's all this expected value. And a bet is kind of messed up. It's the one thing that I buy, but I don't really own. I own a right to get paid or to turn it into a drink coaster. I don't get to own the value journey of that bet, where with every up and down, there's value being pumped in and out of that ticket. And so what the WagerWire marketplace will do for the first time is make sports betting democratic. And I'm not talking about like the exchanges, which I think are weird and nerdy. Like, you're going to take this site and I'm going to take that site, and half the time you're playing against a robot. No, I want people with a Caesars bet, with an MGM bet, with a Circa bet to post it for sale, or to sell it in a private sale to their friends, or buy fractionally from somebody, or buy an ETF of somebody's portfolio for the weekend, or sell some of their action. I don't want these touts to put their money where their mouth is. I want them to post their action and let us buy into it, not just tail them for worse odds across different books. No, I want I want control over my action. I want to be able to treat my bets like investments. And that's why we wake up every day passionate about WagerWire.
I can't wait. As New Shoes once sang, I can't wait. So I will be keeping my eyes and ears open. Tell the mayor, Mr. Consig, ECSI and JD said hello. I'm so glad you guys are back there, as well as November, December 2024 is just going to be one hell of a journey. An amazing team that you guys have put together, and I'm glad that you're on our team as well. So we can't thank you enough,
man.
Travis.
Couldn't be more excited to be on the team. Like, you guys are the trailblazers for real. And we came along, and we have a piece of technology that I think is going to make your dream and a lot of people's dream a reality, because there's no reason that we shouldn't be able to trade on this knowledge that you were talking about when we were looking at those charts. All it takes is the technology and the regulation environment to unlock it. And I think that it's the moment in time for the regulations, and it's legal. And we've got clearance from the top of the house in all these states that we're operating in. And it's the right time. Like, the time has come for sports betting to evolve. I think there's two futures. It's almost like the 1984 Apple computer commercial. But right now, I feel like we're marching towards the Big Brother, DraftKings, FanDuel, boop, 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 commoditized sportsbook experience. And I just want to be the chick with the sledgehammer, Jeff, I think you're handing me the sledgehammer in the commercial. We've thrown it together.
I think there's no doubt about it. I'll close because this is a perfect segue with this. I'll even date myself. I graduated in 1984 in high school, and I was in a class called computer programming, and I hated it. I just, all my friends got it. I couldn't get it. And halfway through the class, I looked at the teacher. I says, "Mr. Smith, can you please explain to me why are we taking a class as stupid as this?" And he pulls me aside and he goes, "Mr. Dawson, in 10 years, this whole world will be computerized." And I looked at him and I just laughed and I just shook my head. Well, that was in 84. And now look here, almost 40 years later. And he was right in 94, never mind 84. So I think you're spot on there, Travis, with the sledgehammer. And we're just going to pound away. We're going to sweep the leg. How's that, Travis?
I like it. Sweep the leg. Oh man, good stuff, man. Good stuff. Well, I'm glad. By the
From
way, I'm glad
myself,
you,
Jeff Dawson. Yeah.
Jeff Dawson. I'm glad you did what you did, Sam. We do what we do because I think it's a good pairing. We'll be the computer nerds, and you be the brilliant betting mind, and together we'll change the world.
I 100% agree with that. From myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Investor, one and only CXO Travis Geiger at WagerWire CXO. We wish everyone a blessed day. 3 o'clock on our channel, Andrew McGinnis from Wager Talk will be here. And at 5 o'clock, the closing bell with Riley Magnuson. Everyone have a great morning, and we will see you soon.